Shalom, beloved family. It's your girl Sophia Spiritualite, and we're here with another research video. Actually, this is going to be a reading. This is kind of like the continuation of our series with the cosmic laws, and then no, I just think I did the cosmic law all in one video, and um, after finding the cosmic laws, reading through those, and then the Magna Carta video where we read through that. Um, I felt like there was still some information that was missing because if these are the rules that we're supposed to be following, well, where'd they get the rules that we actually are following? And so I'm going to put a link in the bio and also a link to the book and a link to the video that I saw by people, researchers I have been following, like I said, for since 2016, basically 2017. And I had was hoping that eventually they would get to this particular subject. Now, if you watch their video, of course, they have not linked um the native indigenous people to America, to Atlantis. They haven't gotten that far yet, but I have, sent them a message so that they get to that. But they do give you a extremely uh, detailed history of a group of people called the Ronanites, and that's what we're going to call them from now on. They're Ronanites, okay? And so if you watch the video, you will understand what that means. I'm not going to go into further detail to keep it as compartmentalized as possible. So yes, my recommendation, go and watch the other video. It is a little bit long, but it will give you the background for this discussion and moving forward, how I'm going to discuss these people, which they're Ronanites. So this, okay, so now we know this is this here what we have. Again, these are my conclusions. This is what the Spirit's given me. I can't say that anybody else is written anywhere, but you will see that these are the secret laws of America. This is the code that they operate by, and it's called the Hammurabi Code of Babylon. And if you look for the actual code, you will not find it on Google. Google has completely scrubbed it. Even from archive, if you search it on archive, you're not going to find it. I found it because I use a different browser that's not a Google based browser, and it's not DuckDuckGo either, because they probably won't let you have this information either. I have a third party browser that I searched it and it popped right up on archive, even though I searched it on archive and it didn't pop up. So anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So we're going to read this Hammurabi code. And I have a feeling it's going to take a few videos because um, if you listen to the video that I'm going to link in the bio, you will see that this sucker is literally 8,000 lines. They had laws that were 8,000 lines. And I want you to, this is the first page in the book, basically. And look at this, the oldest code of laws in the world, the code of laws promulgated by Hammurabi, king of Babylon, from BC 2285, 2,000 years before Christ, 2285 to 2242. So explain to me again how old the planet is. Because how do you, when you see the laws, you will, so you will understand what I mean. I read the first three and I was like, nah, I gotta record this. So we're going to be seeing these together, um live, as I read them. And like I said, this is probably going to be a few videos because I'm going to try and break it down into manageable chunks so you don't have to, skip through the video to listen to the whole thing. I'm gonna try and just do 30-minute chunks. um about 30-minute chunks. So this book is by C.H.W. Johns, um, an Assyrian Doomsday book. We might need to go back and find that one too, but let's just start with this one. Again, this book is from 1903. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth, all in 1903. Okay, 1903. All right, I'm not going to read all of his little introduction. I do suggest you go download this book before they take it from the internet. If you can't download it, send me an email and I will send it to you because you know how they do. All right, so this is the text of the code. Now, keep in mind, 2285 BC. What's the first statute? If a man weave a spell and put a ban upon a man and has not justified himself, he that wove the spell upon him shall be put to death. Why is the first code about magic? Why is the first code about magic? I want someone to explain to me why the very first code in the oldest code of laws in the world is about magic and the fact that you have to justify yourself to somebody other than the Most High. Who are you justifying yourself to? To them? To you? To who? Why does this king, whoever he is, Hammurabi, think that he have the right to tell me or anybody else that I have to justify the magic that I use? Do you know how insane that sounds? Very first text of the code, very first statute. What's statute number 2? If a man has put a spell upon a man and has not justified himself, he upon whom the spell is laid shall go to the holy river. He shall plunge into the holy river, and if the holy river overcome him, he who wove the spell upon him shall take to himself his house. If the holy river makes that man to be innocent and has saved him, he who laid the spell upon him shall be put to death. He who plunged into the holy river shall take to himself the house of him who wove the spell upon him. Why is the second statute in the Hammurabi Code the oldest code of laws in the world about magic? Where's the statutes about money? Where's the statutes about murder? Where's the statutes about children? 1 and 2 is about magic. Just so you know how important magic is. All right, I'm gonna try not to put on my preacher voice. I don't really have a preacher voice, but I feel like if I was gonna have a preacher voice, this is what it would be. This is enraging. I read these first two and I was like, I have to go to bed. I can't read any more of this because the first two are about magic. And they're specifically you have to justify yourself to somebody else. And then if you put I mean, how do you know someone put a spell on you? This is the type of stuff this is ridiculous. 2285 BC. Just keep that in mind. 2285 BC, this was written. Engraved on some big stones put in the center of town, the center of Babylon, 2285 BC. All right, number 3. If a man, in a case pending judgment, has uttered threats against the witnesses or has not justified the word that he has spoken, if that case be a capital suit, that man shall be put to death. I'm not going to, no comment. Okay, I know you don't like this. Get over it. I just heard a weird sound in my headset. This hish is mad. Okay. If he has offered corn or money to the witnesses, he shall himself bear the sentence of that case. So we have the next two statutes that cover witness tampering. Now, how do you go from magic to witness tampering? All right, let's keep going. If a judge has judged a judgment, decided a decision, granted a sealed sentence, you mean to tell me they had sealed sentences in 2285 BC? Okay. And afterwards has altered his judgment, that judge, for the alteration of the judgment that he judged, one shall put him to account, and he shall pay 12-fold the penalty which was said in the judgment. And in the assembly one shall expel him from his judgment seat, and he shall not return. And with the judges at a judgment, he shall not take his seat. Okay, so basically what they're saying is if a judge is wrong, if the judge gets it wrong, they have to pay. That's why they put in judges for life in our code. This is how you know this is a secret code because they did everything to to implement the code and negate the code at the same time. That would be America for you. Next, number 6, statute 6. If a man has stolen the goods of the temple or palace, that man shall be killed, and he who has received the stolen thing from his hand shall be put to death. Code 6. Code 7. If a man has bought silver, gold, manservant or maidservant, ox or sheep or ass, or anything whatever its name, from the hand of a man's son or of a man's slave without witness in bonds, or has received the same on deposit, that man has acted as a thief and shall be put to death. This is all the government does. Or rather, this is why they have these express trusts on us to get around this particular statute, right? Because if they have a trust on us, they can do whatever they want. They're not acting as a thief, technically. All right. Number 8. If a man has stolen ox or sheep or ass, pig or ship, whatever, whether from the temple or palace, he shall pay 30-fold. If he be a poor man, he shall render tenfold. If the thief has not to pay, he shall be put to death. Number statute 9. If a man who has lost something of his that is lost has been seized in the hand of a man, the man in whose hand the thing has been seized has said, a giver gave it to me, or I bought it before witness, and the owner of the thing that is lost has said, verily, I will bring witnesses that know my lost property. The buyer has brought the giver who gave it to him, and the witnesses before him whom he brought it. And the owner of the lost property has brought the witness who know his lost property. The judge shall see their depositions, the witnesses before whom the purchase was made, and the witnesses knowing the lost property shall say out before God that what they know, and if the giver has acted the thief, he shall be put to death. The owner of the lost property shall take his lost property. The buyer shall take the money he paid from the house of the giver. So basically, they're saying if somebody steals something and you somehow end up with it in your hands, you're going to be put to death for that. So basically, if the Most High gives you a blessing by the hand of a person who has wealth, you are responsible for that, not anybody else. The Most High can't use who He want to use the way He want to use them. If something is lost, you are at obligation to return it to the sender. Do you know how insane that sounds? Even if you don't know who it is, you are held accountable for the fact that you didn't return something that you don't even know whose it is. All right. Anyway, number 10, statute 10. If the buyer has not brought the giver who gave it him, and the witnesses before whom he brought, and the owner of the lost property has brought the witnesses knowing his lost property, the buyer has acted the thief, he shall be put to death. The owner of the lost property shall take his lost property. Statute 11. If the owner of the lost property has not brought witnesses knowing his lost property, he has lied and stirred up strife, and he shall be put to death. So when you accuse people, you better be god dang sure of what you're saying, because it is punishable by death to say something like this and get it wrong. That I I have there's nothing I can say right now that's not a Fed post. So I'm just going to continue on. All right. If the giver has betaken himself to his fate, the buyer shall take from the house of the giver fivefold as the penalty of that case. Statute 13. If a man has not his witnesses near, the judge shall set him a fixed time up to 6 months, and within 6 months he has not driven in his witnesses, that man has lied. He himself shall bear the blame of that case. Statute 14. If a man has stolen the son of a free man, he shall be put to death. Hey, these are the rules made by the Gentiles, by the Ronanites. This is their rules. They're going to have to be put to death by their own rules. 15. Y'all, I'm. Mm-mm-mm. 15. Statute 15. If a man has caused either a palace slave or a palace maid or a slave of a poor man or a poor man's maid to go out of the gate, he shall be put to death. If a man, statute 16, if a man has harbored his house, a maidservant or a manservant or a maidservant, fugitive from the palace, or a poor man, and has not produced them at demand of the commandment, the owner of that house shall be put to death. Statute 17. If a man has captured either a manservant or a maidservant, a fugitive, in the open country, and has driven him back to his master, the owner of the slave shall pay him 2 shekels of silver. Look at this. There's your slave catcher laws. Statute 18. If that slave will not name his owner, he shall drive him to the palace, and one shall inquire into his past and cause him to return to the owner. Statute 19. If he confine that slave in his house, and afterwards the slave has been seized in his hand, that man shall be put to death. Statute 20. If the slave has fled from thy hand of his captor, that man shall swear by the name of God to the owner of the slave, and shall go free. Wait a minute. Wait a second. If that slave has fled from the hand of his captor, that man shall swear by the name of God to the owner of that slave and shall go free. Wow. They even got God in here. If you, now you understand the Inquisition. Oh, Father. Oh, my goodness. Statute 21. If a man has broken into a house, one shall kill him before the breach and bury him in it. If you break into my house, this says you gonna be buried right here where you broke in. That's what that means. Statute 22. If a man has carried on brigandage and has been captured, that man shall be put to death. Statute 23. If the brigand has not been caught, I guess that means like stealing, that man who has been despoiled shall recount before God what he has lost, and the city and the governor in whose land and district the brandage took place, and shall render back to him whatever was lost. Dang. Statute 24. Oh, now you understand the Ukraine thing. Because if they go in there and cause a ruckus, they're required to pay back what they've done. NATO makes sense too now. Statute 24. If it was a life, the city and governor shall pay 1 mina of silver to his people. Oh, here we go with the minas. All right, y'all. We see in the Bible tied in here. Statute 25. If a man's house a fire has been kindled, and a man who has come to extinguish the fire has been lifted up his eyes to the property of the owner of the house and has taken the property of the owner of that house, that man shall be thrown in the fire. If your firefighters steal from the houses like they do, guess who gets put in the fire? All right? Statute 26. Man, that story of the three boys makes sense now. Why they ended up in the fire is because of these rules. Mm, Oh, oh goodness. I'm gonna try not to cry too much, y'all. This is enraging and sad at the same time. Statute 26. If either a ganger or a constable, a ganger, which is the police, who's they're the gangers. All right, who's going on an errand of the king has been ordered, goes not or hires a hireling and sends him in place of himself, that ganger or constable shall be put to death. His hireling shall take himself his house. Golly, you got to go for yourself, huh? You, the king sends you on an errand. You got to go. You can't send no police to do your. Oh, Father, this is. Oh, this makes America make sense. This makes America make sense. That's statute 27. If a ganger or constable who is diverted to the fortress of the king, and after him one has given his field and his garden to another, and he has carried on his business, if he returns and regains the city, one shall return to him his field and his garden. He shall carry on business himself. Statute 28. If a ganger or constable who is diverted to the fortress of the king, his son shall be able to carry on the business. One shall give him the field and garden, and he shall carry on his father's business. Statute 29. If his son is young and not able to carry on his father's business, 1/3 of the field and garden shall be given to his mother, and his mother shall rear him. In the word, statute 30. If a ganger or a constable has left alone his field or his garden or his house from the beginning of his business, and has caused it to be waste. A second after him has taken the field, garden, and house, and it has gone about business for 3 years. If he returns and regains the city, and will cultivate his field, his garden, and his house, one shall not give it to him. He who has taken them on and carried his business shall carry it on. What this means, that this whole rental scam that they're doing is completely fraudulent. If you have a house and you rent it out to somebody for 3 years, and you don't come in and you don't take care of it in 3 years, you lose it. So there should be no rental properties. None at all whatsoever. Whoever takes care of that place is the person who owns that place. If nobody takes care of it, the same owner regains it. But if you have left the house, which makes the story of Booker T. Washington a lot more understanding to me now, because in part of that story, and not to get too far off line, but I will just tell y'all this. In part of his story, he says that when he was traveling and Up from Slavery, by Booker T. Washington, he says that he was traveling from West Virginia, the mountains of West Virginia, to Hampton, Virginia, which is a very long trip, especially there. You have no idea. It's a very long trip, and so it's a very strenuous trip. And so part of the trip he had to walk. At some points he was able to like hop on the train, but he didn't have any money. So anyway, but he was still able to get on the train. And then part of the trip, I don't think there's any water getting to Hampton. So basically it was all by land. And so part of it so the times when he was walking, the point I'm trying to make, the times he was walking, he would find a house that was abandoned. He would just, make a fire and sleep in the house. And I thought, well, that's weird. Where is that a custom? But that's true. If there's houses that if you have a house in the woods, a log cabin in the woods, Rana nights, and you're not actually living there, and someone comes there, you don't go there for 3 years, that's it. You've lost your property according to your own laws. That's why they don't want us to know this. And their laws are void anyway because of the Magna Carta, which came in 3,000 years later. You got the Magna Carta, which totally voided all of these laws because these laws are ridiculous. And these laws are ridiculous because Moses came out with the Ten Commandments, which was the opposition to these laws. It negated all of these laws. And that's why they never gave us all of the Ten Commandments. So they would think, oh, well, we have a statute with all these laws, and your little commandments don't matter. No, that's only because you don't even tell us how many commandments there are. We don't know what Moses brought down. All y'all gave us was the watered down version in that book. My apologies. Statute 31. If it is 1 year only, and he had let it go waste, and he shall return, one shall give his field, his garden, his house, and he shall carry on his business. Got to keep moving. Statute 32. If a ganger or a constable, don't you love how they call these gangs, these groups of violent criminals gangs, when really, as we've been saying, the gangs are the constables? Anyway, woo, Father, I didn't. Ooh, y'all just don't understand how upset I am, and enraged and sad at the same time. Who, if a ganger we're gonna start calling those people gangers, by the way, or constable who is diverted on an errand of the king's, a merchant has ransomed him and caused him to regain his city. If in his house there is any means of his ransom, he shall ransom his own self. If in his house there are no means for his ransom, he shall be ransomed from the temple of his city. If the temple of his city there is not means for his ransom, the palace shall ransom him. His field, his garden, and his house shall not be given for his ransom. Guess what they're not allowed to take from you? They're holding you hostage with this debt slavery. They're not allowed to take your garden, your house, or your field. What you use to earn to sustain yourself, they're not allowed to take. So explain to me foreclosures. Explain to me repossessions. Statute 33. If either a governor or a magistrate has taken to himself the men of the levy, or has accepted and sent the king's errand and hired a substitute, that governor or magistrate shall be put to death. Golly. They love to put people to death. Statute 34. If either a governor or a magistrate has taken to himself the property of a ganger and has plundered the ganger and has given the ganger to hire, has stolen from the ganger in a judgment by high handedness, has taken himself the gift of the king, has given the ganger, that governor or magistrate shall be put to death. So basically, the the elected officials are not allowed to take the stuff from the police, which they do all the time. If the uh, governor or you know because they had a kingdom, right, which basically that's how this country is ran. If the king gave it to you, you can't take that as a elected official. All right. Statute 35. If a man has bought the cattle or sheep which the king has given to the ganger from the hand of the ganger, he shall be deprived of his money. Daggone it. Statute 36. The field, garden, and house of a ganger or constable or tributary he shall not give for money. He can't sell his house. He's got to stay where he is. Statute 37. If a man has bought a field, garden, or house of a ganger, a constable, or a tributary, his tablet shall be broken, and he shall be deprived of his money. The field, garden, or house shall return to its owner. The ganger Statute 38. The ganger or constable of the tributary shall not write off to his wife or his daughter from the field, garden, or house of his business, and he shall not assign it for his debt. Not allowed. Not allowed. Statute 39. From the field, garden, and house which he has bought and acquired, he may write off to his wife or his daughter which he has bought, not the one who was given to him. The one that's given to you by the state, you are not allowed to sell. But the one that you bought with your own stuff, you can assign it for your debt, which is, anyway, Statute 40. A votary, merchant, or foreign sojourner may sell his field, his garden, or his house. The buyer shall carry on the business of the field, garden, or house which he has bought. All right. Statute 41. If a man has bartered for his field, garden, or house of a ganger, constable, or tributary, and has given the exchanges, the ganger, constable, or tributary shall return to his field, garden, or house, and shall keep the exchanges given him. What a All right. Statute 42. If a man has taken a field to cultivate and has not caused the corn to grow in the field and has not done the entrusted work on the field, one shall put him to account, and he shall give corn like its neighbor. That's weird. Statute 43. If he has not cultivated the field and has left it to itself, he shall give corn like its neighbor to the owner of the field. And the field he left shall break up with hoes and shall harrow it and return to the owner of the field. Statute 44. If a man has taken on hire an unreclaimed field for 3 years to open out, and has left it aside, and has not opened the field, in the fourth year he shall break it up with hoes, and shall hoe it, and harrow it, and return it to the owner of the field, and he shall measure out 10 gur of corn per gan. Statute 45. If a man has given his field for produce to a cultivator, and has received the produce of his field, and afterwards a thunderstorm has ravaged the field or carried away the produce, the loss is the cultivator's. Golly! The cultivator is responsible for an act of God? Oh, these people are evil. Statute 46. If he has not received the produce from his field and has not given the field either for one half or one third corn that is in the field, the cultivator and the owner of the field shall share according to the tenor of their contract. Oh, they had contracts in 2242 BC. So if they had contracts in 2242 BC, does that mean people could read? Because if people could read, that means that all the slaves that they said were ignorant, and this and that and the other, they could all read well enough to sign contracts in 2242 BC. Pardon me. Statute 47. If the cultivator, because in the former year he did not set up his dwelling, has assigned the field to cultivation. The owner of the field shall not condemn the cultivator. His field has been cultivated at harvest shall take the corn according to his bonds. So you mean to tell me they had bonds all the way back in 2242 BC? All right, statute 48. If a man has debt upon him, and a thunderstorm ravaged his field or carried away the produce, or the corn has not grown through lack of water, in that year he shall not return the corn to the creditor. He shall alter his tablet, and he shall not give interest for that year. You mean to tell me they're charging interest in 2242 BC? I just want you to think about this. Statute 49. And we're going to stop at statute 50 and start a new video. Statute 49. If a man has taken money from a merchant and has given to the merchant a field planted with corn or sesame, and said to him, cultivate the field, reap and take for thyself the corn and sesame which there is. If the cultivator causes to grow corn or sesame in that field at the time of harvest, the owner of the field, forsooth, shall take the corn or sesame which is in the field, and shall give corn for the money which he took from the merchant, and for his interest for the dwelling of the cultivator, and to the merchants. They're telling you can charge tax, which is terrible. Statute 50. If the field was cultivated, or the field of sesame was cultivated when he gave it, the owner of the field shall take the corn or sesame which is in the field, and shall return the money and its interest to the merchant. So we're going to continue this. I mean, I'm going to have to go back and listen to these things myself too, because again, this is enraging and infuriating and sad at the same time. But the good thing is, all praises to the Most High, we now know what the laws are. And so when you know the law, you absolutely know how to get around it. That's what these people have done in America. And that's also, clearly what they were doing way back in 2242 BC. So, to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace. And always remember, the Most High is your peace. Shalom.